Hello, beautiful people. Today is 7th of May. My name is Sahil, and welcome to Newspaper Analysis. Guys, he is the French political thinker Montesquieu. Guys, Montesquieu says the tyranny of a prince in an oligarchy is not so much dangerous to the public welfare as the apathy of a citizen in a democracy. Now, guys, apathy is an attitude of showing indifference or having no concern with respect to important matters which are going into the society. And for a citizen, apathy is represented by not participating into the political processes, by not keeping his voice onto the fundamental matters into the public domain, and by simply not having any opinion onto the public matters. Therefore, friends, for a welfareist democracy, the voice and the concern of citizens are of paramount nature. Friends, you can use this quote in your answers in GS paper number 2 as well as in your essay papers. Now, guys, let's start with today's analysis. Guys, this is the page number 1 of the Hindu newspaper, and here you can see that the COVID 19 cases have reached the 50,000 mark. Though, in this direction, it is being said that the growth rate in India is relatively lower when compared to the other countries. But guys, still the problem is such that India is registering so many number of cases and reaching so many milestones into the number of cases which have not been reported by many countries. Moreover, as lockdown will finally be eased, there are more concerns that there will be huge rapid or spike into the number of cases. And guys, in the anticipation of this particular thing, the railways is also preparing the coaches of the railways to use as COVID care centers. And guys, these carriages will be deployed at nearly 215 stations. Now, guys, using railway as COVID care centers was even earlier indicated by the government, but no detailed explanation in that particular thing came. But now, a detailed set of guidelines have been came out which will explain that how these compartments will be used. Now, guys, it is being said that each COVID care center coach will have just one patient, but it could be extended to two patients maximum. And the people which will be housed in these coaches, they will be having the mild symptoms, and then they can move to dedicated hospitals if required. Now, guys, in this direction, when we see that the railways is using the coaches for the COVID 19 care, then we can see that it is an example of optimum utilization of resources. And here, government could be appreciated as it is using the existing resources in order to augment the health capabilities, which will be helping the patients of COVID 19 into the future. So, guys, this was all about this. Please don't go into the factual details. Now, we'll move to the next news item. Now, guys, if we pay attention to the side column, then there is a small news item that home delivery of liquor has been started in Punjab. First of all, regional news are not that much important for our exam. But what is the thing here? Here, there is an issue where there are two stakeholders. On one side, there is a society, and on other side, there is economy. Guys, we need to sell the liquor because the excise duty on liquor is actually a great source of revenue for the state, and as the liquor shops are closed, such revenue have been dried up, due to which state are facing a lot of economic problems. However, at the same time, as revenues are needed, social distancing is also needed to be observed. But as the liquor shops were opened, it was seen that the social distancing was not effectively observed. So, therefore, now it has been decided that the liquor will be provided to people at their houses. Now, guys, it will solve the problem of social distancing and will also give a boost to the revenues of the state, this particular home delivery mechanism. But at the same time, a problem comes that article number 47, which is a DPSP, puts an obligation on the state that it should restrict the consumption of intoxicating drugs such as alcohol. So guys, issue comes that into the name of economy, whether the governments are fulfilling their obligation under Article 47. And there is also a case in point that by making the home delivery of alcohol possible, isn't state making alcohol more accessible to everyone, which it should not do when we read the article number 47. Moreover, guys, in Indian society, there have always been the problem of alcoholism, due to which the social fabric is undergoing a destruction, families are being destroyed, and at the same time alcoholism is also a major cause of violence against women. Therefore, guys, just providing the home delivery of liquor is a sociological concern, it is an ethical concern, and yes, it is a classic case of dilemma when you are confused that what to do and what not to do. So please keep this thing into your mind, and please keep these arguments into your mind, because there could be a question in GS paper number 1, social issues. Now guys, we'll move to the next. Now guys, here's a news item on page number 1 where certain security flaws have been found in Arogya Setu app. And guys, this could be a very dangerous thing, seeing the cyber security architecture, as well as it may also hamper the privacy of the individuals. Now, guys, before going into the news, if we talk about Arogya Setu, then it is a type of a contact tracing app which has been developed by the National Informatics Center, which is under the Ministry of Electronics and Information Technology. And if we talk about the mechanism of the app, then once it is installed, the app uses the two things. One is the GPS of the mobile phone, and other is the Bluetooth. Then friends, as you will carry your mobile with you, it will keep a track all the places that you went, and it will also keep a track of the persons in which whom you came in contact with, and what were the status of that particular people, whether they were prone to infection or whether they were safe from the infection. And guys, after considering the parameters such as place where you are living or going, and the people in which whom you are coming in contact with, all the users will be given a kind of a status, whether they are safe or whether they are into the moderate kind of zone. And guys, if the people are bound to be into the zone where they could have infected the coronavirus, then that particular application will upload the information to the government, and then such particular person could be ordered to go for quarantine or for testing. Now guys, in this all process, so much of a sensitive information of the people is being collected, that there are concerns that this particular thing could pose a problem to the privacy. And guys, right now even the right to provide privacy has been recognized by fundamental right into the Puttaswamy case of 2017. So the problem is of probable misuse of all this particular data. And guys, into the present news item, a French ethical hacker has identified the security flaws and had said that he was able to see five people at PMO's office and two people at army headquarters which were unable. So a third person is able to hack the database. Therefore, it points to a particular thing, that so much of sensitive information could be at stake into the times to come. Moreover, guys, with respect to Arogya Setu app, there was more concern that the particular thing was being done without a kind of a legislative backing. No law has been passed, and in the absence of law, such information is being collected. So guys, it holds a considerable challenge here. So guys, please keep these all things in your mind for exam. Now we'll move to the next item. Now, friends, we are into the editorial section. As into the regional section of the Hindu, there are no UPSC relevant news items. So, the first editorial is resuscitating multilateralism with India's help. Guys, resuscitate means to revive, to give some new life to somebody. So, guys, here an argument is being made that the multilateralism should be revived. Now, guys, first of all, most basic thing, what do we understand by multilateralism? Now, guys, multilateralism is a phenomena whereby a large number of countries are coming together in order to promote their common objective. They are forming an alliance or a group. Now, in this direction, if we talk about WTO, that is World Trade Organization, then it is a multilateral organization. Why? Because large number of countries are coming together and their common objective is the promotion of free trade. Then if we talk about WHO, then again WHO is a kind of a multilateral organization, as again large number of countries are collaborating in order to promote the objective of health. Now, guys, there are divided opinions with respect to the utility of these multilateral organizations. Some feel they are good, some feel they are nothing but a tools to assert the hegemony of the powerful nations. But as the pandemic of COVID 19 is proceeding, it has been made very clear that if coronavirus is needed to be wiped out, then only way is through multilateralism, through cooperation. It could be in terms of developing vaccine, it could be in terms of developing therapies, or funding each other, or helping with the best shared practices, providing equipment. Everywhere multilateralism or collaboration are needed. But friends, there is one fundamental problem here. From the very start, multilateral institutions have faced a kind of an identity crisis where large number of countries often oppose them, and the same thing is happening now. Guys, even before the COVID-19 started, the legitimacy of WTO was in question because it failed on its notable objectives such as negotiation, dispute settlement, and the transparency. It was said that all these fundamentals were not taken care of. Now, why this thing is being said, we can have a large number of examples. For example, whenever that free trade agreements were being signed, whenever the trade negotiations happened, often the powerful nations such as US and China had upper hand. So it was not kind of a fair negotiation. Friends, I can give you example. An agreement was being signed that was a trans-Pacific partnership in which USA was the major stakeholder, and though USA pulled out at the last moment, but till the last the trade negotiation terms were not clear. So where is the transparency? So guys, WTO has been questioned. Then the next example which right now is facing the crisis of legitimacy is WHO. As guys, recently USA has said that they will provide no funding to WHO into the times to come. Why? Because according to USA, WHO was failed to inform the USA and to the world countries about the situation that was unfolding into the China. So, friends, essentially, what is happening that these multilateral institutions in themselves are becoming a reason for the dispute. Guys, when World War II ended, there was an argument made that we should promote multilateralism because when the countries will be tied together with a common objective, then there will be no problem of the dispute, and in that particular capacity, peace and prosperity will go together. But obviously this thing has not happened and multilateral institutions are failing. Why? Because certain countries are misusing the provisions provided under the multilateral institutes, and the country number 1 in this particular direction is China. Now, friends, China has openly misused the intellectual property right provision, technology provisions, and all these kind of provisions for their own benefit. And China has often used its economic dominance into the world and has dictated a kind of a unilateralism into the place of multilateralism. And this particular thing can be seen in various examples, such as when India complained China with respect to the faulty rapid antibody test kits, China slammed India in return and called India as irresponsible. And the same things have been done with other countries such as Australia also. So, guys, therefore, now there is a very dire need to both reform as well as revive multilateralism. And in this direction, certain steps are needed to be followed. For example, USA should come in forefront and should reassure the countries that autocracy and absolutism will not be helping anyone, and we need to promote the multilateralism. Moreover, the global supply chain which has broken right now, they are needed to be restored, and USA will be coming to promote that stability, peace and prosperity. Then guys, there is a need of strategic decoupling. It means disengaging with certain countries, and like-minded groups should only form. Now guys, when disengagement will certain countries will take place, obviously there will be some reduction into the economic prospects, but that thing is required into the long term. And now, directly coming from the point of decoupling, we also need to renew the membership of the multilateral organization, and needs to decide that with which countries we should integrate, so that ideas of pluralism, democracy, liberalism, etc. should be promoted. So renewed memberships are now needed to promote multilateralism. Now guys, into this particular direction, India can play an important role into the revival and reform of the multilateral organizations, and can show to the world its leadership qualities. First of all guys, why India is important? Because as I was talking about decoupling and renewed membership, obviously the anger is directed towards China, and a large number of corporates, when they will leave China, will be finding itself suitable to relocate into India. And to leverage this particular thing, India needs to play an important leadership role, and also needs to work with the like minded actors into this particular regard. Now, guys, in this direction, it has been said that India should work closely with the Alliance for Multilateralism, which is an initiative launched by Germany and France. Now, guys, they both are working to reform the multilateral agenda, and India should also join the grouping, so that a collective response can be given. Now guys, if we go further, then there have been two major incidents which have reduced or eroded the integrity of nation. One was the Chernobyl incident of 1986, when the integrity of the USSR eroded because it was the greatest nuclear disaster, and USSR tried to hide it. And the same thing and even bigger thing has happened right now into the China, when it did not unveil the magnum of COVID-19 and deliberately tried to cover that particular thing. So a kind of a trust deficit has been created by China, and here India can fill the gap and can play an important leadership role. Guys, nobody is ready to believe China's aid diplomacy, China's soft power, nothing will be helping the China to recover. So therefore India should jump and cash the situation. So guys, this was all about this. Now we'll move to the next article. Now guys, this particular editorial explores as how state should raise the finances in order to meet the COVID-19 pandemic. Now, guys, as we are seeing, COVID-19 is proceeding, there is a need of huge fiscal package for the recovery. But the problem is that from where such fiscal package will come? Guys, even before the COVID-19 pandemic came, government has a huge deficit, which was up to the tune of nearly 8 lakh crore rupees. And government was even concerned that how such money should be arranged. For that particular thing, government decided to carry certain of the borrowings, and certain disinvestments were decided. Guys, disinvestment means when government sells their share into any public sector company, and by selling that share the money will be coming. That money is the proceed from disinvestment. So this 8 lakh crore rupees were to be plugged by partial borrowings and partially by disinvestment. But now the problem is such that as COVID-19 is becoming a problem, this deficit will become even more bigger. Now, according to certain estimates, 5 lakh to 6 lakh crore rupees more are needed to right now in order to fight the COVID-19. But what government has done? Government has said very clearly that they will not be breaching the borrowing limit which was decided into the last budget. And guys, now if they will not breach the borrowing limit, how the money will come? In recent times, certain steps though have been taken by the government as well as by the RBI, but these steps are not adequate enough and are falling short to meet their objectives. Guys, Reserve Bank of India, what it has said that banks should lend money to the MSMEs, to the individuals. But when the banks will lend, there will be two problems. Problem number one, what is the surety that the lending which is being made will be recovered also? Many a times there are the MSMEs which don't have very good record. So in that particular case, there will be the huge NPAs. So banks don't want to give. Secondly, the Reserve Bank of India has given allowed the state that they can raise more money from the Reserve Bank of India under WMA, that is Ways and Mean Advance window. So this particular window has been enhanced by 60%. But guys, this 60% is still not enough. State wants even more now and they want that it should be doubled. By the way, guys, WMA is a kind of a facility under which states can borrow money from the RBI for the relatively medium durations. So, guys, we had seen this is what RBI is doing, saying to the banks, you give loan and providing WMA. And what government had done, they had announced a fiscal package of 1.7 lakh crore under the name of Pradhan Mantri Garib Kalyan Yojana, but this is grossly inadequate, and both government as well as our RBI are out of realities. Now, guys, world over, coronavirus is being called as a war. And therefore, taking the cue, we also need wartime measures in order to stabilize the economy. And what are the wartime measures? One popular measure is the console bond debt. Now, guys, these debts were issued by UK in 1917 when it was fighting the World War One. It was said to all the citizens, an appeal was made that if you can't fight into the World War One, please invest into these console bonds which bear a 5% interest rate. It means that a citizen will invest into this particular debt, he will government will get the money, and in return 5% interest rate will be given to him. But one thing is different here with the traditional bonds is that first of all, the interest rate is relatively marginal, and secondly, there is no date given when these bonds will be redeemed. It was said that whenever the time will be suitable, the bonds will be redeemed and the investors will get their money back. In this direction only, recently in 2014, 10% of the outstanding fund was redeemed. So, in the same direction, an argument comes that the government should also have issued the console bond where the citizens could have been asked to invest and they should have been given certain minimal interest rate along with the tax incentives. And by that particular money, the expenditure which is needed right now could be met up. Now, one thing could be asked that why the individuals would have invested into the console bond debts. Guys, the answer is very much simple. When the Prime Minister makes an appeal to invest into the PM Cares Fund, liberal donation comes, and on the same lines, the people have even more heartedly would have given money into the console bond debts as it is also carrying an element of the interest payments, and much more money could have been mobilized by issuing the console bond debts. And as there is also not a fixed time limit when the government needs to redeem that particular thing, it would not have been posed a very much burden on the state also. And by using the money that is being raised by the console bond debts, government could have used that money anywhere. For example, buying of the PPE suits, giving the stimulus to MSME sector, giving food, anywhere the proceeds could have been used. So, guys, this is an innovative financing method, that is console bond debts. Please keep this thing into your mind for your exam. Now we'll move to the next item. Now, guys, on to the page number 8, a news item has been mentioned which mentions the Darbar move. Now, guys, before going into the present news item, we will see exactly what is this Darbar move which is being talked about. Now, guys, Jammu and Kashmir has two capitals. One is the winter capital and other is the summer capital. Winter capital is Jammu and summer capital is Srinagar. So guys, the capital works at Jammu from the month of October to May, and from May to October it works in Srinagar. So what happens every year, just before the summer starts, the entire capital is physically shifted from Jammu to Srinagar, and from Srinagar to Jammu when the winters are about to start. Now this year, for the first time is nearly 148 years, the Darbar move is not taking place due to the COVID-19. And now, guys, it is being said all together by the High Court of Jammu and Kashmir that the Darbar move should altogether be closed, because every year it incurs so much of fiscal burden on the state and it is not necessarily required now. However, in this particular regard, ultimate decision was to be taken by the government of J&K UT as well as by the central government. But guys, the government of UT is saying that the move is not only about the finances, but it is about the tradition and long going history. Basically, this says that if the move will not take place, then the distance or gap between Jammu on one hand and Kashmir on another hand will increase substantially. Therefore, this move ensures a kind of a unity, as cyclically Darbar or the secretariat is held at both the places, so it should not be discontinued. Now, guys, when we see the history of Darbar move, this particular tendency was started in 1872 when the Dogra dynasty was ruling here, and there was a Dogra king, Maharaja Ranbir Singh, who started this biannual shifting of the capital. And since that, 148 years have been crossed, and it is going on continuously, and for the first time now it has been broken. So guys, this was all about this. Now we'll move to the next news item. Now guys, a news item has been given onto the page number 10, where it has been suggested that the treatment categories under the Ayushman Bharat Abhiyan has been reduced. Now guys, if we talk about the particular background, then the government of India started Pradhan Mantri Ayushman Bharat Yojana, also known as Pradhan Mantri Jan Arogya Yojana. Now guys, it is the flagship scheme of government of India. Flagship means the very important scheme. Now, under the aegis of this particular scheme, 5 lakh rupees health cover is to be given to nearly 10.7 crore families, or to more than 50 crore Indians. Now guys, by this 5 lakh rupees they can get a large number of treatment, such as they can opt for the general surgeries, they can opt for the gynecology treatments, and various other secondary as well as a tertiary level of treatment. So guys, this is actually a very good initiative. But what has happened, the data has been released, and according to which now the people are only coming for the general medicine, and treatments for the secondary as well as tertiary ailments have been reduced very much substantially. Why this thing has happened? The reason is very simple, guys, because earlier people used to take treatment from both public as well as private hospitals by using their Pradhan Mantri Ayushman Bharat Abhiyan entitlements. But now, as COVID-19 is going on, private hospitals are either closed or not entertaining, and public hospitals are either working for the COVID-19, or people themselves are not going into the public hospitals because of the fear of COVID-19. So now only for the general medicine they are approaching the hospitals, but not going for the treatment where the admitting into the hospital is required. And guys, this particular thing is not good for the long term, because if people will not opt for the treatment, then their mortality could increase, they could die because of certain diseases, and conditions can become even more worse after a particular point of time. So guys, this is just a little kind of observation which we need to make here, otherwise there is nothing important into this particular news. Now guys, here's one more news where pigs are dying because of hog cholera in Meghalaya. Friends, first of all, already the fear of African swine fever is going on into the Assam, and now a new disease, that is hog cholera, has came. Now, friends, before proceeding, we had discussed very much extensively as what is African swine fever, where it originated, what is the family, what actually it is, into the 4th of April newspaper at 9:46. So, friends, I will recommend you that please go and see this section for the African swine fever if you haven't. Now, discussing about hog cholera, it is also called as classical swine fever as well as the classical pig fever. And guys, this fever is very much common into the Asia, Africa as well as Europe. And even into the state of Meghalaya, it is not something which is new. Rather, it has been emerging very frequently. But what makes it more problematic is that high contiguity. It is highly infectious and at the same time, the mortality rate is very much high. And there are the greater chances that if infected, then the pig will die within the span of 15 days. Now, guys, this particular disease is caused by the classical swine flu virus, which belongs to the genus of pestivirus. Now, guys, genus is nothing but when we classify the species or the living organisms, we take help of several subclassifications. First of all, there are the species. For example, human beings, we are the species. Then there is the genus. Homo is the genus, and then there is a family. So, guys, first of all, the name of the virus is classical swine flu virus. Then it belongs to the genus, and the genus is pestivirus. And then over the genus happens to be the family, and the family is Flaviviridae. So, guys, there could be a question on these segregations also, because earlier the questions have been asked on these lines. For example, question was asked that what is big? Eon, era, period, epoch. So, what is big? The biggest one is the family. After the family, there is a genus, and after the genus, there is the species. So, guys, this virus is becoming now more frequent into the Meghalaya, and this is the only news. Guys, nothing more apart from this. And now we'll go to the next news item. Now, guys, here's a news item onto the international page. Now, friends, a kind of a war of words is going between the USA as well as China. Now, guys, USA is accusing China that China is having a biolab in Wuhan, and from this biolab the coronavirus, that is SARS-CoV-2, has been leaked. Now, guys, yes, there is a biolab in Wuhan, and this biolab is also having biosafety level 4 kind of rating, which is one of the highest rating. It means that this particular lab handles hazardous biospecimens. Now, guys, when we compare the coronavirus with the SARS virus, then 96% similarity has been found between the two viruses, and the coronavirus is having its origin from the bats. And in this particular lab, both bats were being tested and the SARS virus was being tested. So there could be a possibility that this virus released from the Wuhan lab. However, no credible evidences have been put forward in this particular regard. So, guys, you should just know that what the controversy is going on, but don't go too much into the details, because it could be a conspiracy or a speculation which is not required. So, guys, this was all about today's discussion. I hope you are liking it. Thank you so much.